The stars above Terra burn cold and distant that night, an ocean of silence lit by the faint glimmer of warships drifting like sentinels around Earth. From orbit, the planet looked peaceful, blue and whole. But down below, every city hummed with unease. Every screen carried whispers of the same word, ultimatum. Admiral Marcus Hale stood at the viewport of the UNS Resolute, watching the Earth turn slowly beneath him. His reflection, hard eyes, iron-gray hair, the faint scar along his jaw stared back. Hale had commanded fleets through rebellions and border skirmishes, but never had he seen humanity's leaders so divided, so humiliated. The Galactic Council's message still hung in the air. It wasn't a request, it was an order. Humanity will dismantle all orbital shipyards within 30 standard cycles. Failure to comply will result in enforcement under Article 7, collective sanction and neutralization. They called it enforcement. Hale knew the word meant occupation. Beside him, Commander Elena Park, his executive officer, broke the silence. "Sir, we've got confirmation. The Council fleet has crossed the Proxima line. They're entering Sol jurisdiction." Hale's fists tightened behind his back. "They were told not to cross that line," he said quietly. "They don't care anymore," Park replied. "They think they can dictate to us like children." Hale turned from the viewport. The command deck's lights reflected off his eyes like distant lightning. "Then they've made a mistake." For decades, humanity had been the Council's reluctant ally, a young, ambitious species that clawed its way into the stars faster than any before it. The Council had smiled at first, offered treaties, trade, shared technology. But when Earth began to rise, when Terran colonies spread into the rim and human ships outpaced alien cruisers, the tone shifted. Sanctions. Inspections. Peacekeeping oversight. The Council feared what humanity could become. And now, they'd gone too far. On the Council homeworld of Vareth, light years away, diplomats gathered in the Grand Spire of Judgment. The chamber's ceiling was a canopy of holographic constellations, each one representing a member world. But among them, one constellation had dimmed, Sol. Ambassador Jared Mason stood alone at his podium, facing the 12 alien high representatives. "You have no right," he said, voice steady, defiant. "Humanity is not your vassal. You can't dictate the limits of our progress." The Verithan chairwoman, a tall, silver-skinned being with eyes like liquid mercury, responded coldly. "Your species has shown aggression on multiple fronts. Colonizing disputed systems. Refusing inspections. You bring instability. The Council acts to preserve order." "Order?" Mason shot back. "Or control?" His words echoed through the chamber. "You fear us," he said, quieter now, almost mournful. "You fear what we might become. And so you aim to cage us before we grow too strong." The chairwoman's voice turned to ice. "Ambassador Mason, humanity's refusal to comply will result in enforcement. Your fleets will be disarmed. Your shipyards dismantled. Resist and we will respond." Mason leaned forward, every syllable deliberate. "Then you'll find out what happens when humanity stops holding back." 3 days later, the Resolute received the transmission. It wasn't a declaration of war. It was worse. The Council fleet, led by the Ascendancy flagship Karathsun, had entered Mars orbit and seized the Deimos shipyard, humanity's largest defense hub beyond Earth. They had transmitted footage of human engineers forced at gunpoint to disable reactors. 2 had resisted. Both were executed live on the Council's channel. When the broadcast ended, every human world went silent. For an entire minute, there was no speech, no newsfeed commentary. Just silence. And then the rage began. Admiral Hale convened the War Council in low orbit above Earth. Holograms of generals, admirals, and intelligence chiefs filled the war room. At the center hovered the image of the Deimos shipyard, smoking, lifeless. "We have 27 fleet groups active in Terran space," Hale said, voice steady. "Council forces are outnumbered 4-1 inside Sol. But they believe we'll stand down." General Sarah Whitaker, head of Earth Defense, leaned forward. If we respond now, it's war on a galactic scale. You understand that? I do, Hale said. And so does every man and woman under my command. He turned to Park. What's the casualty report from Deimos? 412 confirmed dead. 17,000 detained. A long silence followed. Hale's jaw tightened. Then the councils just signed their own death warrant, he said. The holomap flickered, showing red markers across Mars' orbit. Hale raised his hand. Effective immediately, Operation Sovereign Fire is green. The order spread through every ship in the Sol fleet. Across Luna bases, orbital platforms, and deep space carriers, human officers prepared for the unthinkable. On board the UNS Horizon, Captain Daniel Cross watched as his crew armed the ship's main railguns. Are we really doing this? His lieutenant whispered. Cross didn't answer at first. He looked through the viewport at the small red dot of Mars. We didn't start this, he said quietly. But we'll finish it. Within 6 hours, the fleet mobilized. The stars around Earth were no longer peaceful, they bristled with warships, thousands strong, their hulls gleaming with the glow of plasma drives. Every ship carried the same broadcast message set to transmit on all open council channels. To the Galactic Council, you have overstepped. You have violated sovereign space, murdered Terran citizens, and declared yourselves our masters. No more oversight. No more subjugation. You wanted compliance. You've awakened vengeance. Admiral Hale stood at the command dais as the countdown began. Fleet Command, mark targets, he ordered. Deimos first. Then the Karath Sun. Elena Park's fingers flew over the console. All units locked in, sir. Hale looked at the holomap of Mars, the red orb hanging silently amid the black. He exhaled once. Then, God help us all, fire. From a million miles out, the night erupted. Hundreds of human warships opened fire in a synchronized wave, railgun slugs, plasma torpedoes, kinetic lances streaking toward Mars' orbit like burning stars. The Deimos shipyard vanished in a storm of light, metal torn apart in seconds. The Karath Sun tried to raise its shields, but the sheer barrage broke through, its hull splitting open like a dying sun. The first strike of humanity's wrath had begun. As the firestorm consumed the sky, Admiral Hale stood motionless, the red glow reflecting in his eyes. They thought we'd kneel, he said softly. They forgot who we are. Commander Park turned to him, pale. Sir, what happens now? Hale's voice was quiet. Now, he said, the galaxy learns fear. Prelude, the ashes of Mars. The red planet was still burning. From orbit, Mars looked like a wounded sun, black veins of molten metal where shipyards once floated, streaks of wreckage glittering across the void. The Deimos ruins glowed faintly, shards of human steel and alien alloy fused together, drifting like frozen tears. For 3 days, transmissions of the battle replayed across every human world. Every city, every colony, every outpost watched in silence as humanity's wrath was unveiled. Some called it justice. Others called it vengeance. But every voice agreed on one thing: there was no going back. Main narrative: the retaliation. Admiral Marcus Hale hadn't slept since the first salvo. The UNS Resolute now floated above Luna base, its hull scarred from returning debris. His reflection on the command glass was thinner, older. The war had aged him in days. Commander Elena Park entered the bridge, holding a datapad. Fleet readiness reports just came in. 73% combat capable. Colonies are reinforcing with every ship that can hold a weapon. Hale nodded. And the Council? They've declared a state of emergency. Their outer rim fleets are mobilizing, but they're fragmented. They never expected we'd strike first. A faint, grim smile crossed his lips. Good. Let them scramble. He turned toward the massive holographic display of the galaxy. Human space shimmered in blue, Council territories glowed gold. Between them, new red fractures spread outward, active war zones. This isn't conquest, Hale said quietly. We're cutting off their reach. Their supply chains, relay stations, every weapon they'd used to control us. Park hesitated. Sir, the attacks on Mars killed nearly 100,000 Council personnel. Half of them weren't soldiers. Hale's eyes hardened. Neither were the engineers they executed. He paused, then straightened his uniform. Issue the next orders. Operation Sovereign Fire moves to Phase 2. Outer Rim, the Battle of Ryan's Gate. The Ryan system was a trade artery for the Council, a gate that fed 3 sectors. For years, humanity's ships weren't allowed beyond it. Now, 6 Terran fleets gathered in its shadow. Captain Daniel Cross of the UNS Horizon watched the stars ripple as his fleet transitioned out of slipspace. Before him loomed the gate, a colossal ring station glowing with blue light, guarded by a dozen alien cruisers. Target lock, he asked. Confirmed, his lieutenant replied. Council ships are hailing us, demanding withdrawal. Cross took a slow breath. Open channel. A hologram flickered to life, a reptilian officer, Council crest glinting on its armor. Human vessel, you are violating Council-controlled space. Power down your weapons or we will. Cross cut the transmission. Enough talk. Fire all batteries. The Horizon and her sister ships unleashed a barrage. The gate shuddered under the assault, explosions rippled across its frame as alien cruisers scattered in panic. Within minutes, Ryan's Gate collapsed inward, torn apart by its own reactor surge. Cross exhaled through his teeth. Gate destroyed, sir. No more reinforcements from their core worlds. Good, he said softly. Then it begins. Council homeworld, panic in the spire. On Verith, the Council spire shook with uproar. The High Representatives were in chaos. Reports flooded the chamber, Mars lost, Ryan's Gate destroyed, 2 frontier fleets annihilated. Chairwoman Sareth Valcora slammed her hand against the table. They're animals. We offered order, they bring annihilation. An advisor's voice trembled. Madam Chairwoman, human transmissions are spreading across the networks. They've broadcast footage of the Deimos executions, the ones we ordered sealed. Valcora froze. The chamber went silent. Then the screens came alive. The broadcast showed the Council enforcers' brutality, and then the fury of Earth's response. Hale's voice echoed over it, cold and unwavering. You brought your fire to our home. Now, we bring it to yours. Every Council world saw it. Every allied race felt the weight of those words. And for the first time in millennia, the Council, the proud, ancient rulers of the galaxy, felt fear. Terra Command, Operation Expansion. Back on Earth, the war machine had awakened. Every factory, every shipyard, every orbital forge pulsed with life. General Sarah Whitaker oversaw the planetary command table as blue-hued holograms of battle groups rotated above. Phase 2 is complete, she said. Council gates at Ryan, Dura, and Laos are destroyed. We've isolated their fleets. Admiral Hale appeared beside her, holographically linked from orbit. And Phase 3? Whitaker's eyes glinted with determination. Retaliation strikes. Every world that housed occupation troops, every Council outpost built on human soil, we burn them out. Hale was silent for a moment, the weight of her words sinking in. Do it. Whitaker gave a nod, her voice low. They wanted submission. They'll get silence. The second firestorm. The galaxy burned. Across the stars, human fleets descended like storms. Over Laos 7, plasma torpedoes lit the clouds. The Council's dreadnought Averin fell in pieces, its reactor flare visible from orbit. Over Taurus Prime, orbital cannons shattered mountain ranges. Entire command centers vanished under kinetic bombardment. Captain Cross's voice came through the fleet network, hoarse and resolute, we've cut their lines at Dura Reach. Council fleets are in retreat, repeat, in retreat. Every soldier on every deck heard the words, and a roar erupted across comm channels. Humanity, the once subservient newcomers of the stars, now ruled the void with fire. But beneath the celebration, something darker stirred. The cost of victory. On board the Resolute, Commander Park stood at the viewport, staring at the swirling storm of debris outside. 17 Council worlds hit, she whispered. Millions dead. Admiral Hale didn't answer. He simply watched, his reflection lost in the stars. They'll call us monsters, she said softly. Maybe, he replied. But they'll remember us. He turned away, hands clasped behind his back. Prepare the fleet. Next target, Varith itself. Park looked up sharply. The Council homeworld? Sir, that's. The source, Hale interrupted. They wanted control. We'll end it where it began. He stepped closer to the command dais, eyes burning like the light of distant fire. When they looked at humanity, they saw potential. They should have seen the warning. Far across the stars, in the ruins of Ryan's Gate, a fragment of the Council network caught one final human transmission. The voice was calm, almost mournful. We did not seek war. We sought freedom. You forced our hand. Now, the sky burns. And with that, the galaxy fell into silence save for the distant thunder of engines gathering for the final march toward Varith. Prelude, the long march. Slipspace tore open like a wound in the dark. Out of it came Fleet Sovereign, the greatest armada humanity had ever assembled, 2,000 ships, their drives glowing blue-white against the endless black. The UNS Resolute led them, scarred but unbowed, her hull gleaming with the light of distant suns. Admiral Marcus Hale stood at the forward viewport as the Council homeworld Varith grew larger ahead, a silver-green jewel surrounded by rings of orbital citadels. The heart of the old order. For weeks, the galaxy had burned. Now, only the center remained. Commander Elena Park approached quietly. All fleets in position, sir. Outer defense lines collapsing. They're refusing surrender. They think mercy still lives in me, Hale said, his voice low. They're wrong. The fall of the citadels. The first wave hit like judgment. Human dreadnoughts opened fire in unison, rail slugs slashing through the void, cracking shields that had stood for centuries. Council citadels burst apart in blooms of orange light, debris raining into Varith's atmosphere like shooting stars. Target shields collapsing. Park called. Citadel 3 is disintegrating. Keep pressure, Hale ordered. No survivors on orbital platforms. Through the chaos, Hale caught glimpses of alien escape pods scattering like frightened insects. For a moment, pity flickered behind his eyes, but it died quickly. Deimos, he remembered. 412 dead. 17,000 detained. There would be no pity today. Ground invasion Operation Nemesis. General Sarah Whitaker led the surface assault from orbit. Her dropships screamed through Varith's atmosphere, their hulls glowing red. The alien capital sprawled below, a tapestry of crystal towers and silver rivers. Deploy zones Delta through Hotel, Whitaker commanded. We take the Spire of Judgment. No delays. The dropships hit the ground hard, releasing waves of armored soldiers in black and gray exosuits. Plasma fire lit the streets. Alien defenders fought with desperation, their ornate armor gleaming beneath the burning sky. Whitaker advanced with her company through smoke and shattered glass. Remember what they did to Mars, she shouted. No retreat. The soldiers surged forward, unstoppable. Inside the spire. In the spire's throne chamber, Chairwoman Sareth Valcora stood amid chaos. Advisors shouted, data streams blazed with incoming loss reports. Ryan, Dura, Leos, all gone. The walls trembled as orbital strikes thundered above. Evacuation ships, she demanded. None left, Madam Chairwoman, an aide stammered. They blockaded orbit. Valcora's silvery eyes darkened. So this is humanity's mercy. Moments later, the chamber doors blew open. Human soldiers flooded in, weapons raised. Behind them walked Whitaker, visor lifted, eyes cold. Valcora drew herself tall. You think this victory makes you gods? Whitaker met her gaze. No. Just free. Without another word, she raised her rifle and fired. Orbit, the decision. Above the planet, Admiral Hale listened as reports came in. Surface resistance collapsing. Spire secured. Council command structure terminated. The bridge of the Resolute fell silent. Every crew member stared at the blue-green orb below, now streaked with black from orbital fires. Park finally spoke. "It's over." Hale didn't answer. His eyes lingered on a new alert flashing across the console: planetary defense grid still active, reactor core accessible. If he gave the command, the reactors beneath the spire would collapse, ending all of Varith. No chance of resurgence. No legacy of the council left standing. "Sir?" Park's voice trembled. "If we trigger it, we'll wipe out billions." Hale's reflection stared back at him in the glass, haunted, hollow. "They made this war inevitable," he said. "If we leave them standing, they'll rebuild. They'll come again." "Maybe," she whispered. "But if we do this, we become what they feared." The bridge hung in silence. Every eye turned toward him. The weight of an entire species balanced on one man's breath. The fire unleashed. At last, Hale spoke. "Prepare ignition." Park closed her eyes. "Understood." Across orbit, the fleet's targeting arrays aligned. The atmosphere shimmered as kinetic lances primed. "Authorization, Admiral Marcus Hale." "Execute." The sky over Varith ignited. Light brighter than dawn flooded the void as the planet's defense reactors collapsed inward, chain reacting through the core. The surface cracked open like porcelain. Oceans boiled, mountains disintegrated. The Council homeworld, center of galactic order for 10,000 years, died in a single burning heartbeat. The shockwave rippled through space, scattering debris across the stars. Aftermath. Hours later, the fires faded. Varith was gone, reduced to a drifting scar of molten glass. Admiral Hale stood alone on the bridge. The crew whispered behind him, some weeping, others staring in stunned silence. Commander Park approached, her voice barely audible. "It's done. The Council is gone. Every world across the rim has gone dark." Hale didn't turn. "And what are we now, Elena? Liberators? Executioners?" She hesitated. "Maybe both." He finally faced her. "History will call it justice. But when they speak of us, they'll remember the fire, not the cause." Park looked out at the dead world below. "Maybe that's enough. Maybe fear keeps the peace." "Fear," Hale repeated, tasting the word like ash. "That's what they said, once, before they fell." Terra 1 month later. Back on Earth, the skies were clear again. The war was over. Every city rang with cautious celebration, banners waved from the towers of New Geneva, Luna City, and the rebuilt colonies. Humanity had survived and prevailed. But at the center of the capital stood a single monument, a fragment of Varith's shattered crystal spire, dark and cracked, placed upright in the plaza. Beneath it, a plaque read, "They taught us fear. We taught them fire." Ambassador Jared Mason, returned from exile, stood before it in silence. He could still hear the echo of Hale's final transmission, the words now immortalized in every Terran archive. "To those who come after us, remember this day. Freedom is never given. It is taken, and it is kept in blood and flame." He bowed his head. "God help us if we ever forget." Far beyond Sol, in the quiet between galaxies, sensors flickered to life. Hidden outposts, once loyal to the Council, recorded the last transmissions from Varith. The data traveled through ancient networks until it reached unknown systems. There, in the dark, something stirred, listening. Humanity had burned the old order away, but in the silence that followed, the universe itself seemed to whisper a warning. Power invites challenge. Fire breeds shadow. And as the UNS Resolute drifted beyond the moon, her battered hull reflecting the newborn dawn over Earth, Admiral Hale finally closed his eyes. The war was over, but peace would never come easily. The stars no longer looked cold to him. They looked afraid.